Hey everyone, my name is Garv. I'm with the OU Food Pantry. Today, I'm gonna show you 5 tips and tricks that could help you cook in the kitchen. Don't worry if you're a novice. You know, I'm a college student, so most of my food is warmed up in a microwave, but these 5 tips everybody can use and learn to become a better chef. Okay, so tip number 1. First off, you want to secure your cutting board. So your cutting board is a pretty versatile tool. You'll use it for a lot of things in the kitchen. So making sure it doesn't slip is extremely important so you don't cut your fingers. So a good way to do that is getting a cloth rag, and you want to lay it down onto the table. And you see how when I push the cutting board, it moves pretty easily. But once I use it on the rag, it's pretty firm. You really can't move it, and that's to make sure that your working surface is completely secure. You don't want to cut yourself because nobody wants to bleed all over their kitchen, and nobody wants to get hurt. Okay, tip number 2. So next is to make sure that your knife is sharp. So this is called a steel. It's what you use to sharpen a knife and straighten a knife. And this is one of the big boy knives that you might have in your kitchen. So in order to sharpen it, you want to make sure you grip your knife firmly. Make sure you have 3 digits on the handle, and then use your index and thumb to secure it, and you're able to twist it and have a good grip on it, just to make sure it doesn't slip. And then with the steel, you want to have your knife at a 45-degree angle and just go along the length of the knife to sharpen and straighten it. So makes that really cool sound, right? But you want to do that on both sides, and make sure you sharpen both edges. That's just to make sure your cutting experience and process is a lot easier. Nobody wants to work with a dull knife, especially if it can make cooking a lot harder, and we're here to make cooking easier. Tip number 3. So now a secure cutting board and a decently sharp knife. This is how you use a knife whenever you're cutting vegetables or anything for that sort. You want to make sure that you position your fingers kind of like in a C shape. You want the knife to kind of brush up against your knuckles. You don't want to cut like this where you're like really holding it and you might end up cutting your fingers. You really want to make sure you position your knuckles forward and have that knife brush along it. So same thing, make sure you grip the knife properly, and then make sure you have those knuckles. And then being able to cut slices just like that. This will save your fingers and keep you from getting hurt. And that's the most important thing when cooking. You don't want to hurt yourself, and using these small tips and tricks, even for someone who's a novice like me, makes it really easy to cook. So definitely keep that in mind. Remember, C shape for your knife. Tip number 4. So next, you want to make sure that you have your workstation all ready to go. So that means all the ingredients you have for whatever recipe you're gonna make, you wanna make sure it's all laid out. You don't wanna be running to your kitchen cabinets. You don't wanna be having to run back and forth while the water's boiling or ingredients are mixing, and not really be able to go like unchecked on some parts of the kitchen. So you wanna make sure that you have everything laid out and ready to go, so you know what needs to be mixed. You have all the measurements ready to go. It just makes the whole process easier. And you'll also get to know what ingredients you need, because you may realize that you start cooking and you don't have one of the ingredients. So then you don't want that to happen. So make sure that you have everything ready to go before you start cooking. All right, the very last tip, tip number 5, you wanna make sure that as you're cooking, you clean your dishes. A lot of times you might have some downtime where water's boiling or those ingredients are mixing, and you're just kind of, you have some time to kill. Might as well just do some dishes, because whenever you enjoy your meal at the very end, you don't want to look over and see a pile of dishes in your kitchen. That just kind of reminds you that you have to do it later. So a good tip is just to make sure that you get that done as you're cooking. So over here, I have a dirty bowl, and I'm just gonna go ahead and clean this. We already have our workstation prepped, and we have all of our ingredients. Cutting board is secured, and might as well knock this out. So that being said, those are 5 tips that I think everybody could benefit from. I mean, I'm a college student, so I don't really know how to cook super well, but take it from me. If I can do these things, I know you guys can too. So hopefully you learned something today. See you guys later.